поймете, почему Лестер колхозник, бля.
Чик-чик — это маленький чешский мальчик. Чик-чик Стокович. Ну давай, поехали. Это надо обязательно сделать ревью. Да. Феликс, звука нема. Нема звука, Феликс. Здравствуйте. Hello. This is обзор. Сука, я не могу настроить. I want to sleep. Блин, мы это пишем? Блять, вот даже потом смешные моменты не сделаешь, они же не поймут нихуя. Hi guys, welcome to round 5 digest from Road Atlanta. We have quite a lot of incidents to review. I would also like to go through some strategies and blue flags as well. And in the end, for the final incident review with Nico and Grammenos, I will also show you how we approach this review together with John, who's the owner of Scorpio Motorsport, because I didn't really know how to approach this incident. I sort of asked him to give me his insight, so I'll show you how real race team treats some of the questionable incidents and the arguments towards the penalty and against the penalty as well. So let's start with lap 1 and actually straight away with an incident that got someone a penalty. I'll show you from the start from Filo, and we are reviewing the incident between Supa and Filo in turn 1. So let's start. Filo actually has an incredibly good start. He overtakes me and he gets alongside with Supa. And here there is a contact. I actually asked Filo to send me his point of view as well, and it was the same. So Filo's argument was that Supa actually turned in on him, but if we have a detailed look, Filo is actually getting away from the apex slightly and not really leaving any chance for Supa to stay on track. So let's have a look again from Supa's view. It is quite obvious that Supa had to turn in, so like it's a right-hand corner, so you need to turn. So here we can see that Supa actually goes to the left to be able to make the corner, whereas Filo is staying roughly on the middle of the track, which makes him unable to make the corner at the speed that he wants. And here, yes, obviously Supa is turning, so we can see, but his steering input is roughly 20%, and Filo's is slightly less, maybe 5%. And here, Supa is trying to make the corner, whereas Filo is also trying to make the corner, but it's very tricky. I mean, this incident is very tricky to judge because it's like Filo has the space on his right, so he could go more, but he didn't have to. Whereas Supa was trying to take the corner, but the argument here towards Filo's penalty is that Supa is actually ahead. So you can see here that Supa is fully ahead. So I wouldn't say it's Supa's corner because he's on the outside and he's not 3/4 of the car ahead, but I would say they have equal rights for this turn. So Supa is slightly ahead, we treat it as they are side by side. So this contact that forces Supa to go wide is unquestionably Philo's fault. And the other argument towards giving Philo a penalty is that he actually really struggles to make the corner here. So you see, he actually goes into the grass. As I said, he decided to turn from the middle of the track. So to be able to make the corner while turning from the middle of the track, you have to really slow down a lot. And he was trying to take the corner. And even if there was no contact here, so imagine there was no contact between him and Supa. Supa was entitled to stay on the left here, but he would have forced him wide anyway. So the argument towards the penalty here is that even if there was no contact and even if they didn't touch, at this point Philo would still force Supa on the grass, and that's the reason for giving Philo 3 plays. Great job for the next round. Um, it's not something crucially horrible or whatever. It's not dirty driving from Philo. It's just a misunderstanding from two drivers, and I think Philo was slightly overly aggressive here, slightly overly optimistic. As I said, it's not really dirty driving, but also it's not really any severe penalty. So it happens in lap one. Now let's go to Roach and Grammenos because the incident with Grammenos is a very interesting one, and it's actually with Nico. And this is from my replay. So Nico has a better start. He's actually ahead. And from this replay, they don't make contact with Grammenos. But I'll show you now the replay from Grammenos, and you can see clear contact there. And it looked like Nico just destroyed Grammenos and forced him into the wall. So as you can see here, Grammenos going wide. He has no chance to correct the car. And actually, Roach going off, I think, is the reactionary to Grammenos going off in front of him. So you can see from this camera as well, it just looks like Grammenos is going wide. Roach is trying to avoid. He's obviously unable to do that because you're already on the grass. And it's we have 3 victims of turn one, which is Supa, Grammenos, and Roach. But with Grammenos, it's very tricky to judge again because from my replay and from Nico's replay, there was no contact. And basically, here at this point, I was gonna do it at the end, but since we're already reviewing this incident, I'll do it now. So when I looked at the submitted incident from Grammenos, it looked to me like Nico actually pushed him out. But as I said, we have to see it from perspective of all drivers involved, and from Nico's replay, there was definitely no contact. From my replay, there was no contact. However, I will explain now what would have happened if uh, Nico hasn't submitted his replay or his replay was the same as Grammenos. So when there was actually a contact. So I'm just gonna quickly reveal how we approached it with John, because I sort of understood that most likely it's going to be the penalty for Nico, but I didn't know what sort of penalty to give him. And also, when you're trying to judge the championship leader or someone who is fighting for the top positions, you have to be 10 times more careful with your decisions. And from the moment I saw the replay from Grammenos, I knew that he has to be penalized. However, what I like about John and experienced people in the in racing is that they are trying to see something that we don't look at, and maybe I don't look at as well. So I'm not gonna really show you the screenshots of my correspondence with John, but actually asked him to help me out with the incident, and I sent him the clip from Grammenos and some photos as well. And that's what uh, that's what John is telling me. So he actually asked me if the car on the inside in front of the black car, and that is Sanchez and S2K. Let me just skip forward so you understand what I'm talking about here. So before he actually started reviewing the incident with Nico and Grammenos, he tried to look ahead, and that's what he was asking. Like at this point, before Nico starts to jink left, why he did that, and that's important. And by sort of giving you this information now, I'm sort of revealing how it's done in real life and how you want how teams and drivers will argue their position or their innocence, so to speak. So the first thing he asks me is not about the contact with Grammenos and Nico. He asks me what is going on ahead, because this is important. So the question here he is asking me is that did the car on the inside in front of the black car, and black car is Nico, slow the apex significantly enough, or did the black car jink to the left as the reaction? I don't believe the white car did anything wrong regards the positioning. So he's basically what he's saying is that Grammenos was definitely innocent here, but he's asking me why Nico moved towards Grammenos in turn one. And he tells me it feels to me that the black car, which is Nico, crowded the white car, and the move to the left is what needs to be analyzed, as he will have known that the white car, which is Grammenos, was behind him from his mirrors. So what he's saying here is that we need to analyze why did he make that sharp move to the left towards Grammenos, and if it was the avoiding action from Sanchez and S2K sort of fighting and slowing down on the apex, that would be the excuse basically. That's what he's saying. Then we have a little bit more of the conversation, analyzing the steering inputs, etc. And then he says, I would say the black car was wrong unless he can prove that the car in front of him slowed unnecessarily at the apex, causing him to take avoiding action, but I can't see that being the case from the video. And that's very, very important thing to take, because when the clerk of the course or any stewards or whoever, they analyze the incident, it's very rarely, especially in the case of the first turn, first lap incidents, it is extremely rare that it's only two cars involved. Even if there were no contact with other cars around, you still have to see what caused the driver who seems to be at fault to do what he did. Because especially with these kind of drivers, like the top ranked drivers in the world, I would not believe that something was done deliberately to punch someone off the track. And especially in case of the championship leader and Grammenos, like they are not really fighting in the standings, so it's not the end of the season to do something deliberate. So you have to be very, very careful. You can't just say like, oh, he punted him off the track, so he gets the penalty, whatever. You have to be very careful, and you have to be able to see uh, any incident from a driver's perspective. And I remind you, this conversation was before I saw the replay from Nico. So all this conversation is based only on Grammenos replay, where he actually was punted off the track. So and here, instead of saying like, yeah, it was Nico's fault, whatever, John actually is trying to analyze what Nico was doing there and what caused him to move to the left. Now, obviously, then we analyzed the replay a bit more. We saw that S2K and Sanchez had no contact. I actually asked Ryan to send me the backwards view from his car to see what S2K and Sanchez were doing, because if Sanchez and S2K did make contact, which caused them to slow down, and Nico was trying to avoid them, then it would be their fault in Grammenos crash. So you see, like when you analyze the incident, you have to see all sort of things that would contribute to this chain reaction, and that's what we're trying to analyze. To be able to understand this situation here, we actually looked at onboards from 5 different cars. So that would be Ryan, S2K, Sanchez, Nico, and Grammenos, and Roach behind as well. So actually 6 cars. It was a very thorough review, to be honest, because I didn't want to give someone a penalty unnecessarily, but I also can't ignore the fact that Grammenos pretty much lost the race in turn one. And as I will show you later, he actually had the pace to fight with this guy. So I think had this not happened, the outcome of the race and even the podium positions would have been different, I think. So we have to be very careful here. And that's, I will actually read you some more messages from my conversation with John. So, uh, I then asked him what would be the penalty for Nico if that actually was the case in real life, because we are trying to replicate here uh, how it would be in real life. So I asked him, and he said, in the view that the white car crashed and wouldn't have finished the race, then the black car should be excluded if it can't be proven that he needed to make the move left to avoid the car in front of him. So I'm actually sort of teaching you now how to argue your case. So even if you made a mistake, basically, and punted someone off the track, you have to be clever and you have to try and argue your case in your favor. So you will always try to find something external that would have contributed to this accident. And you would try to argue your case based on something outside of your control. I don't know, a gust of wind, a grass on the track, a jump on a curb, whatever. Yes, it can be stupid, but in the end of the day, if it works, it works. So all the time when you know you're at fault, you always have to try to find something external to argue your case, to make the penalty less severe, or to even avoid the penalty. And in this instance, John is sort of thinking instead of Nico, saying like we need to work out why he moved to the left and sort of giving hints of how he should argue his case. Now, so basically, the verdict at this point was that Nico must be excluded from the race. But then we saw Nico's replay where they didn't even touch, and obviously we decided that it can't be a penalty. It was just a leg, unfortunately. And another interesting thing that John texted me and said, I don't like too many steward decisions in racing, as often race decisions need to be made by drivers in microseconds, and it can then ruin races with people outside the cockpit deciding the finishing positions. However, the driver needs to be accountable if it's a poor driving decision. So basically what he's saying is that we need to minimize the involvement of stewards if we can. However, if the driver has done a mistake, has made a mistake, then he needs to be held accountable. Here, as I said, it was a racing incident because it was clear that the lag was involved, and we left it as a racing incident. But I'm sort of explaining all this to you now, so you can first of all, my target is to prepare you for real life racing eventually, and you need to know how to argue your case, and also to explain that whenever we tend to make any decisions about penalties, we try to make a very thorough analysis from all the possible perspectives to see uh, all the possible scenarios and why it happened before we hand out the penalty. Now, let's move on. I wanted also to show you something from my perspective this time, and I'm not trying to sort of tell you how good I am or whatever, but I want to show you the difference in approach in lap one. Uh, I'm gonna open you a little secret, basically that I talk to John pretty much after every race, and we discuss who did well and who did worse than others, whatever. And at this point, we have a mutual understanding. We have a common sort of understanding that there is not a single driver so far who is ready to be put in the car. And the reason for this is that everyone is overly aggressive. A lot of drivers are trying to win the race in the first lap, in the first corner. And that's not something that would be acceptable in real life. We have obviously the drivers of exceptional talent here, definitely, and most of the drivers here are extremely talented. However, if you look at the starting procedure, so we start the race. I can see that Filo has done a better start. I leave him space. I can see that some of the drivers have gone off, and here, look, here I know that I'm ahead of Filo, and I know that I can sort of try to outbrake him, but then I understand that he was quite aggressive with other drivers in turn one, so I know that he will try to stand his ground here, and he would probably try to turn in on me in the second corner, the right-hander. So yeah, and see here, he actually uh, moved towards me. So what he's trying to do here is he tries to force me to the inside, so I would brake earlier. And I saw him being quite aggressive in turn one. Then I see that he's quite aggressive here, and I just decide to back out. To like, I'm still ahead here. It's already the braking zone. I am ahead, so I can stand the corner. But I don't want to force the issue because if you get damage, it doesn't matter who was right and who was wrong. You will both DNF here, or you will both have damage. So sometimes you need to know when not to force the issue. And here I am still ahead on the apex, but I know that uh, probably he will try to get alongside me, and if I stand the corner, he will argue that I forced him wide on the exit, so I just decide to let him go, basically. And that's what I encourage you to do as well. So uh, you need to know when to fight and when not to fight. And actually, you see, he keeps it quite aggressive and he goes off. So that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes you need to let an aggressive driver by, and he will sort himself out. I'm not saying Filo was overly aggressive or whatever, but I think that you need to know when to take a step back. Basically, I let him by, and uh, he still crashed. So you see, there was contact here, and at this point, I'm like, okay, fine, just just go because I don't want to get involved. It's lap one, and here he makes a mistake. So yeah, I mean, you need to know when to take a step back from this. So you need to be able to control your aggression, especially in lap one and turn one. Now, I think we have all the incident covered except of one, which happened on lap 73. So I just want to quickly go through some things that I noticed from the stream. And we're gonna go to lap 19 with PayMay. Yeah, so I saw on the stream that PayMay made a mistake, but it actually hasn't really got into the replays. So let's just quickly analyze what happened here, because he got a lot of damage. I think it was lap 19. Ah, it was the pit straight, yeah. So it's gonna happen now. He's slightly overly aggressive in power, and yeah. Was there actually contact with Supa? It was pretty close. So he starts to slide. No, there was no contact with Supa. It was just Payman getting frustrated with the initial slide. So the problem starts here when he has to correct. So at this point, I would say regain the control fully before you try to go any further. So when you make a slide with a rear-wheel drive car, it's quite obvious that it is extremely difficult to catch it back. It's not a front-wheel drive where you can just go flat out and it will correct itself. So here he's in a difficult situation because he knows that Supa is staying close behind, So I think what he's trying to do is to correct the car as quickly as possible without really uh, going off the throttle completely. So you can see here he's still sliding because you can see that he's pointing the wrong direction and he's turning right. You can see with the red dot above the number 4, the gear, and he's flat out, which is, in my opinion, not the best thing to do with the rear-wheel drive car. So he sort of regained control here, and he's already flat out again, and that's what causes the next episode of the spin. So if he just regained control completely here and was a little bit more patient with going flat out again, because I'm sure he knew that Filo is Supa is right behind, and he's trying to stay ahead, which in this instance is not the thing to do. It's better to lose a position and regain control and then take it back, because if you're trying to stay ahead, this is what happens. You slide again and you get on the grass. So I think it was a matter of impatience here. And when I say impatience, you will see here, he goes back and he slides again. So this is the third time. And it was just the frustration, the sheer frustration of the situation. And you will see my case here again, because he will spin again and get even more damage. So this is just wrong mentality, I think. Yeah, so you see he crashes again, and he then quit the race because he was too frustrated. So I don't really like when drivers rage quit, but I mean, in the end of the day, it only makes it worse for yourself because you don't really score any points. I mean, I had a glitch in lap 2 where I turned the wheel and my car just went straight. I don't know, it was maybe the wheel disconnect or whatever, but I lost almost a lap in lap 2. But I knew that quitting the race, I mean, it's not really going to help. So you should at least try to do something. Maybe someone disconnects, maybe somebody crashes again, and you have to finish the race and you have to score points. But here with PayMay, I mean, I'm not really blaming him. I understand how frustrated he was, but you need to control your emotions in racing. Definitely, you have to control your emotions, and you need to know when to take a step back. Basically, that's my point here. I showed this incident not because I wanted to somehow denounce PayMay, because I know that he's one of the top drivers and I respect him a lot. He is still ahead of me in the standing, so I have no right to say that someone is a bad driver or whatever. I think he's an incredible driver, but I'm trying to show this to you to emphasize that you have to be able to control your emotions. Another example: he just got out of the pits. He crashed for the 5th time within 2 laps because he's angry. That's sheer anger. And then he just exits the lobby. So instead of finishing P7 or P6, he just crashed 5 times in three within 3 miles. And I mean, that's that's not really a good thing. So my advice, and it's a friendly advice, I promise, to PayMay and to everyone else: just know when to take a step back, know when to back off, regain control, clear your mind, and keep going again. Now, lap 29. With Nico. And I'm gonna show you what Felix said about this. So I'm gonna insert a little clip.
Back around Arigata.
Arigata flying now in front of them both. He's provisional P1 at the moment. Even when he pits, he should stay on P1.
Especially given the penalties that these other two drivers have had. Chung now really using the overtake trying on this outlap. Has nearly used a quarter of it already, as he will come out behind his teammate thanks to that 3-second penalty. Arigata's still running, able to run in the low-ish 103s, just to actually just set another personal best first sector.
He can afford it. With the mistakes that Super S2K and Chunk did, he can definitely afford it. Super S2K currently in front of Chunk, and Super S2K was 2.5 seconds behind Arigata, so he knows he's faster at the moment. Maybe not faster, but even if he loses half a second or a second, it will pay off as he will have fresher tires later in the stint.
And actually, shout out to Felix, who is always aware of what's going on with strategies and with tires. I love the streams with Aaron and Felix. And just shout out to Balkan Scene Hub for being our friends, and to Felix for commentating here, doing it extremely professionally and always knowing who's on what tires, how worn they are, who's on what strategy, how much fuel they have. It just makes the stream extremely professional, and that's what he said about Nico in lap 29. Now, that was extremely clever from Nico, because S2K and Ryan, they have pitted, I think 2 laps before him. And Nico, he's staying out because, as Felix said, he knew that they were 3 or 4 seconds back. So he knew that he could take it longer to then have better tires. And that's something I noticed about Nico before, and I said it in the previous digest videos and in SSF Insider as well, that Nico is extremely aware of what's going on around him. He doesn't have the spotters, he doesn't have his race engineer like being on his ear on the team radio saying this. He just knows. He knows how to analyze the race around him and how to react. I think all the races apart from Nurburgring have been exceptionally well run by Nico, because he doesn't always stick to his strategy and to what he does. But what he does is that he reacts to everyone around. I mean, this obviously this pit entrance was. I'm not gonna even comment on that. But yeah, the fact that he took it 2 laps longer than the AMS guys is a perfect example of how you react to what's going on around you, and how you react to the faults or misfortunes of your rivals. Because this was perfect, and he will come out ahead of the AMS guys on the tires that are 2 laps fresher. Perfect. Fantastic move. If he didn't kill his own race later, but in this instance it was very well done. Now, we can see S2K here repeated, I think, lap 28 or lap 27, a couple of laps earlier. Ryan is further behind because he had penalty. Now S2K gets the penalty because, again, oh, I can see that Nico's ahead of me, I need to catch him as soon as I can, and blah blah blah. That's mind games. I mean, come on, guys. Like, S2K, you are within his slipstream, so why do that? And here, what actually Felix also noticed is that S2K is going on the grass during his penalty serving. I don't know, maybe it's the game trick or whatever. If you know, just let me know, because I've never seen that before. And considering what Felix said, is that it actually slows you down less when you go on the grass. It's okay to sort of exploit these little tricks in the game, but I don't think it's right. However, all the drivers who are fighting for the wins will exploit every single thing that they can. So yeah, let me know if going on the grass during the penalty is actually making you lose less time. Now, so from this point onwards during the race, it's actually extremely well run race from the top 3. I actually really enjoyed watching the stream, and if you are the external viewer who hasn't seen the stream, I encourage you to watch the highlights, which will be uploaded slightly later this week, because the race between the top 3 was incredible. And I actually thought that for once we're gonna have all three drivers faultless in a race, but unfortunately I was wrong. So Nico is running a good race here, and then we go to lap 44. So he has the penalty. He's already lost the position to Super S2K. Now he's going to serve the penalty, and I think lose the position to Ryan as well. So they are still running all very, very close. You can see S2K here, Nico around 5 seconds back, and Ryan is further a couple of seconds back. And it's all going pretty well for everyone. But then Nico is going to make a mistake somewhere. So the tires are okay. Somehow Nico is missing all the apexes but driving purple sectors. Yeah, you can notice that he's actually going on the grass quite a lot on exit of the corners, and that's what I'm saying as well. Sometimes you need to know when to control your desire to go as fast as possible, because the race, which is more than 1 hour long, is not a sprint. Yeah, and he just you can see this aggression. So he just applies too much power between the two apexes. The car is twitching and he's going wide. Um, Now, what I wanted to discuss separately from all this is how polite, so to speak, Grammenos was with Ryan and with Nico, and especially Grammenos was driving with the thought that Nico took him out in lap one. And we actually covered that in a private conversation with Grammenos. So Grammenos caught them up, and he was trying to unlap himself, and I think it was most evident on lap 48. I need to check where Grammenos is. Yeah, Grammenos is just behind Ryan here. You see? So uh, for many laps, I think 15 or 20 laps, Grammenos was driving behind them, and his pace was actually better than Ryan and Nico. But what he's doing here is actually he's deliberately driving a bit slower, not to attack Ryan, and that's very sportsmanlike. Even though he was entitled to unlap himself, he was sort of backing off. But the problem here is that uh, he um, he has Nico in his mirrors as well. So at this point, he knows he has the pace to pass Ryan, but he doesn't want to get involved because he knows if he fights with Ryan, he will sort of disturb him and make him lose time. And he didn't want to get involved into fighting with the top two guys, even though he had pace and he could catch Supa and Roach and me maybe, because we were not too far spread out. I lost a lot of time letting the leaders through as well. And you see here again, he's catching him up, and you can see here he's actually letting by he's letting Nico by, and he lost like 3 or 4 seconds this lap just letting him by. So I just want to emphasize how sportsmanlike Grammenos was here, and that's exactly the kind of sportsmanship we're looking for. Uh, yeah, so you can see he did 105 and he was doing 103 before, so 1.5 or 2 seconds lost just to be sportsmanlike. And then I don't remember what lap, but he will actually catch them up again, and he will start driving on Nico's gearbox, and eventually both Ryan and Nico will make mistakes or get penalties. I don't remember exactly what happened during the next 2 laps, but Grammenos will actually get past them, not because he attacked them, but because Ryan and Nico made mistakes and had penalties, and then he will let them through again. So huge well done to Grammenos for being very sportsmanlike. Um, Maybe unnecessarily sportsmanlike, to be honest, but it's great to see that we have uh, very sort of I don't even know what word to use, to be honest, kind to drivers, so to speak. And I hope that Ryan and Nico will give kind comments to Grammenos and thank him for doing what he did and not getting involved into their little battle. Now, something that I noticed from the stream actually, because I just watched it, and it was lap 66, and this will be a penalty for someone, and it is about lapping the back marker, which is Leicester in this instance. So you can see here Leicester is getting blue flags. He's probably on a chat with the EMS guys because they're all friends. No more, I think, because now Leicester is in Scorpios. No more of this bullshit from Leicester, I hope, in the next round. But I don't even know what to say about this incident because I sort of understand why he did that. And I would probably have done the same, knowing that I would get maybe 5-second penalty, which he will get now, because that's fair. So he gives Ryan perfect slipstream, letting him by, and then completely blocking Nico deliberately. Like this is so deliberate here. And then he's like, yeah, I'm letting you by. So this is definitely a penalty, 100% a penalty, because thank you for giving Ryan a slipstream, of course, but you can see how big the gap is. And what he should have done, he should have let Nico through here. And you can see how much Ryan is able to drive away here. Nico has nowhere to go. He can't accelerate here. He's completely blocked. Again, blocked once more. And then Lester is like, yeah, I'm obeying blue flags and I'm letting you by. So as I said before the race, the penalty for making a faster car lose time while lapping is ×5. So I think Nico lost at least 1 second here, so that's a 5-second penalty for Leicester. And I know that Leicester will just laugh at this now because he knew that it would probably come. And in his instance, it was something that, like, he doesn't care because he's a lap down. He's not really fighting with anyone, and he doesn't care about this penalty. I would have done the same, but that is unsportsmanlike, and that's a 5-second penalty and 2 points on the license, as it would have been in real life as well. So helping your sort of teammate is good. I agree. It didn't really help Ryan because Nico has actually passed him on a penultimate lap. But yeah, as I said, I understand why Leicester did that. I would have done the same, and I would have accepted the penalty the same. I would have just laughed, and I said, like, I don't give a shit about your 5 seconds. And now we gradually move to the final incident on lap 73, which was reported as well, and the commentators actually said that they think it should be looked at, and it was looked at. Now, this is extremely nice pass from Nico on Ryan. They are both on overtake the whole straight, and well done to Ryan for not trying to force Nico off. It was a very clean battle, and I think this little touch was more of the leg rather than actually dirty driving. Fantastic pass, and very well done from Ryan as well. And here, that's what was reported. So that Ryan argued that it was a reactionary move from Nico but I didn't really understand this point, like reactionary move. All the moves while defending are reactionary. So you're trying to defend, reacting to what the attacking car is doing. So all the moves in defending are reactionary. However, I think what he implied here was that it was a very sharp movement. So he said that he made his one move here, so which is not true, because one move considered is from left to right or from right to left, and here he's on the middle of the track, so he's entitled to defend more. However, uh, what I think Ryan was saying is that he tried to go onto the inside, and at this point he sort of thinks he is entitled to his car width, which is not true, because he is not alongside, not even the front wing alongside, let alone the one third of the car. And Nico is moving across. And I agree that this is a dangerous move. However, it's not against the rules. Now I will show you the clip from Ryan and from Nico so you will understand how different they saw it as well. And the final decision not to give penalty to Nico was the fact that on his review the move was a lot smoother than it was on Ryan's review and on my replay as well. So as you can see, again, we're trying to see from everyone's perspective and to be fair. And as you saw now from Nico's review, it was a lot smoother than from Ryan's. And again, it was not forcing another driver on the grass because they were not alongside. It was not a second move to the outside. So he covered the inside, which he was perfectly entitled to do. I'd say it was harsh but fair. If Ryan was alongside him and it forced Ryan onto the grass, then it would have been dirty driving. But in this instance, it's not dirty driving. So the results will stand. We have two penalties for Filo, which is 3-place grid penalty for the next round for turn 1, and to Lester for disobeying blue flags. Neither of these penalties changed the finishing order, so the finishing order stands. And now I would like to take just a couple of minutes to talk about the general approach the drivers have. Soon I will release the video, which will be about how the real race compares to the sim race, and it's extremely different in terms of the mental approach, and that's what I'm trying to emphasize here. Do not try to win it in the first corner. Don't think that if you lose a position you will forever be behind someone, because uh, I mean, just for the sake of trying to keep it under 1 hour because there are too much to talk about. I didn't want to show some few other incidents which I thought would be worth it, but there are times when drivers just go out of the track, jump over the curbs, and then after the race they are all excited and saying like, "Look what kind of save I had! Wow!" And then the others say like, "Wow, you are so good by making this save." And I'm just listening to it like, that's questionable because while going off the track, you would have damaged your floor, and it would have been either end of the race for you, or you would have been 2 seconds a lap slower because of the damaged floor and less ground effect. So I'm sort of looking at this from slightly different perspective, and my point here is, yes, you have great battles, and we have great drivers, but you need to know when to take a step back. Uh, from what I see from all our races here, I would say Lester is actually the one who knows how to do it best because he's not really getting involved into first lap incidents and whatever. He knows that he's slower than the front runners, so he's just trying to keep it clean and to have a clean race. And that's, I think, the experience. I think he's one of the oldest drivers. He's one with the real life experience. So, and his race awareness is very good as well. So what he did with the blue flags here is extremely clever. It's extremely good team play. So I actually support this move, but it was against the rules. So, but again, when you are left down, you don't give a shit that you're gonna get 5-second penalty. I would have done the same, and any proper team player would have done the same. So out of everyone who's racing here, I think Lester is the one uh, who is driving in a way that you should drive in real life, so to speak. He's not the fastest guy, but neither am I. So once again, I'm not really judging anyone's pace here. I'm just saying that if you want to be noticed and if you want to be uh, sort of considered for the real life test, you need to change your mental approach towards the race, because for now, pretty much everyone from the front runners is just reckless, and it relates to both Super Formula and to Stack, because everyone just gets damaged at least once a race. But you should remember that in real life, if you get damaged once a race, that's the end of your race, basically. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to shift your mental approach from reckless to more weight, to more careful, and to sort of force you to take these changes. I'm gonna introduce a rule changes. I will make a post on Discord, but generally from in Spain during our next route, it will be an experiment. I don't know if we will keep it or not, but I want to penalize damage more. So from now on, if you damage your front wing, you can still repair it as normal. However, if you damage your suspension or rear wing, I mean, in real life it would be a DNF, but I'm not gonna force drivers to DNF because of the rear wing or suspension damage, but there will be a 30-second time penalty for every time you repair suspension or rear wing. So basically, from now on, if you have damage for your suspension or rear wing, you have to stay stationary before you make your pit stop for 30 seconds for every damage that you have. So if you damage two suspensions, you stay for 1 minute. If you damage rear wing and one of the suspension, you stay for 1 minute in the pits. Extra. And remember, this is not cruel, this is not stupid, this is to shift your mentality towards more careful racing. And as I said, in real life, if you damage suspension or rear wing, you're out of the race. Here, you're gonna lose more time for now. And I'm doing this to make you think more about the long-term race. As I said on my example on lap one, I don't care. Like I let Filo go. I could have fought with him, but I let him go. I want to avoid damage. I want to avoid unnecessary contact because I keep my mentality as in real life. You don't want even a slight touch, and it seems like everyone else here is just going full beams, and I want to change that. So if you put someone in a car, I mean, no one would have finished the race here. Yeah, we have the top three in the championship and in this race, but none of these drivers would have finished today's race because S2K had a trip to the grass and over the curbs. That's no floor, so thank you very much. You're either a couple of seconds slower a lap or you're out because you damaged the floor. And obviously with Ryan and Nico, again, quite a few spins and penalties, etc., etc. So none of these top three would have finished the race. Michael would have won, most likely. So yeah, actually, I talked about Leicester. I need to talk about Mike as well because Mike is doing a great job with taking it steady and careful and knowing when to fight and when not to fight. So yeah, from Spain onwards, every suspension damage and every rear wing damage, you have to stay for 30 seconds in a pit extra. Let's say we simulate an extremely fast repair of the pit crew. So now you need to understand that you can't be reckless and you can't be too aggressive. This will not count in the first 3 laps because the first 3 laps are usually very leggy. So if you get damage in the first 3 laps, you can just pit as normal. But from lap 4, if you go off and you crash, then you have to serve the 30-second penalty, so to speak, for getting the damage. I will give more information in Discord explaining all this, but once again, thank you very much for being part of this championship and for being part of this server. I am extremely excited with how it all develops. We will make some huge announcements within the next couple of days, and to actually sort of fuel your interest, I have already discussed with John 3 drivers who will sign for next gen. And if you don't know what next gen is, head to our website. I will leave the link in the description. It's our new driver management company, and I already know who will be signed within the next few days. Huge announcements coming up, so stay tuned. Subscribe to the newsletter on our website not to miss anything. And thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.